like to welcome you to the City of Southfield regular meeting of the Planning Commission, October 25th, 2023. Let us stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
May I have a roll call, please?
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Bernuti?
Present.
Ms. Goodwin-Dye?
Present.
Mr. Griffiths?
Here.
Ms. Gruber?
Present.
Mr. Martin?
Present.
Dr. Stevens-Gunn?
Present.
Mr. Willis?
Here.
Madam Chair, you have a quorum to conduct business tonight.
Thank you very much. I'm sure everyone has had an opportunity to review our agenda for this evening. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
Madam Chair, I would move to approve the motion scheduled for this date. The agenda scheduled for this date.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Willis and second by Commissioner Bernuti that we accept the agenda for this evening. All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Are there any announcements and communications for today?
No, ma'am.
All right, moving right along. We're going to look at the items for item D, and in that is PC ZR 23-0003, conditional rezoning, PS LU 23-0011, special use, and PSP 23-0013. Again, we will vote on each one individually. However, the presentation will be collective.
Yes, ma'am. As noted, this is a proposal for a conveyor style automatic car wash at the Maddock property on Telegraph Road, 29300 Telegraph. Has three components to it: a conditional rezoning, a special use approval for the car wash, and a site plan approval for the car wash. Okay. This is a site aerial, just shows the site, the area, the kind of L's off to the right there toward Woodland Drive. That's this part that's zoned P for vehicular parking and is being rezoned. The remainder of the site is already B3. These are some existing conditions at the dealership and along Telegraph close to Woodland Drive there on the bottom. As you can see here, the B3 zoning is the bulk of the site. The P zoning, which is considering for the conditional rezoning, is that part up at the corner of Woodland and Telegraph. The entire property is master planned, future land use planned commercial office, which this is a special land use for that area. The conditional rezoning is a conditional from P to B3 excludes a few uses. These are the uses excluded as part of the proposal by the applicant. It will be part of the conditional rezoning agreement should it be approved by council. Private clubs, nursery schools, photographic studios, funeral homes, assembly and concert halls, recreation centers, alternative financial services, pawn shops, smoking lounges, homeless shelters, soup kitchens, sexually oriented businesses and cabarets. These are pretty typical of what's excluded in these B3 zonings because they may be a little too intense or maybe otherwise objectionable. Here we have the site plan. As you can see here, the existing building on that part of the site is going to be torn down. The car wash will go in that location. There'll be stacking to the back with access going up the south side of the building. And then the vacuum stations will be up there at the corner of Woodland Drive and Telegraph. And they did, based on the comments last meeting, add a couple of ADA vacuum spaces near the vending station near the vacuums that do meet the requirement. There's a lowered curb there so that you can go up the middle aisle and get over to that vending station, in addition to actually having vacuums there that the folks who could use to actually vacuum their cars. This is the landscape plan. As you can see, it's the darker green are the existing kind of wooded area that abuts the north and would be eastern property lines by the vacuum stations. They are putting a screen wall up on the vacuum station area abutting the residential. Floor plans of the car wash, pretty standard. There's 2 lanes for the conveyance on that, and then service rooms and some restrooms and staff areas. Elevations for the car wash, these are unchanged from the last meeting. A few renderings showing what it looks like. This is from Telegraph to the kind of the south looking into the site. This is a little bit to the north. This is looking at the stacking going into the car wash at the rear. This is looking at the vacuum stations and the car wash from kind of the Woodland Telegraph corner. Another look at it kind of from the other corner. And we do have the petitioner here to answer questions if you would like them to come up.
Good evening. I'm Carl Zimmerman and Shane Burley,
Your address, please?
14001 Telegraph Road.
2040 Park Avenue, Suite 200, Detroit.
We're open to any questions that you may have. Hopefully, we addressed all the concerns and questions that came up the last time we met.
Could you just give us a little briefing, because this is where the public is viewing it online or either on TV, so at least give us a little bit of a background.
Yes, ma'am. So this car wash business model is called a Premium Express Wash. We have a model of this in operation now next to our Chevrolet dealership in Redford at I-96 and Telegraph. The big difference with this wash and what we have there, this does not have any interior detailing, but this is something that our customers have come to really appreciate. The neighborhood and the community have highly praised. It's a first-class, very customer-oriented, beautiful facility that should be a blessing to the community, we hope, and certainly a boon to our existing customers.
Thank you. At this time, I'd like to open the public hearing for PC VR 23-0003. If there's any public present who would like to share their thoughts or comments, please approach the podium. Public hearing for PC VR 23-0003. Public hearing PC VR 23-0003. Given no public is present to share thoughts, we're going to close the public hearing. Commissioner Martin.
No questions at this time.
Commissioner Gruber.
No questions.
Commissioner Willis.
Thank you. I do have a question. It looks like your property abuts residential property. Am I correct? Do you know how much distance there is between the wash part of your operation and the nearest home?
It is quite a distance. Shane is going to get the actual, but as you can see from the wash to the closest residence, there is not only quite a distance, but there's also a large amount of vegetation and a ravine that spans between the two structures.
Slide back to
Is there any fencing between the two?
Yes, there's fencing. The distance is also about 300 feet.
Okay, okay. Thank you.
kind of see it on the aerial photo there.
Commissioner Griffiths.
No, nothing.
Commissioner Goodwin-Dye. Commissioner Benuti.
Thank you. Have you received any comments of or concerns from the residents in the area?
No, ma'am.
All right, thank you.
Commissioners, are there any other questions? Commissioner Martin?
In our previous meeting, there was talk about stacking traffic south of 12 Mile, which kind of blew my mind, and I didn't see a need for that. Do you see any problem with stacking of traffic coming north from 12 Mile on Telegraph?
Not with the way we've designed this plan. I mean, we have probably about 1,000 feet of stacking by the time you enter that site and make your way all the way to the back, including the double lane you can kind of see on this image up here to the right, as well as the 4 pay station lanes.
We also mentioned the traffic flow coming north on Telegraph to there, and the timing between the lights and traffic being able to go out and make the Michigan left to go around the islands. Has there been any type of traffic study or anything for that?
There has not been.
Have you noticed any problems with traffic backing up there?
No, sir. And this facility is replacing an existing dealership that has been deemed obsolete. So we are in the habit of having a lot of traffic there to begin with, which has not been a problem to our knowledge in the past, and should not be given all of the 1,000 feet plus of stacking space we have available.
Thank you.
Commissioners, are there any other questions? Given none, I call for the recommendation.
Yes, ma'am. The planning department is recommending approval on the basis that it does meet the standards in the ordinance for conditional rezoning, and that the excluded uses are appropriate, and that the proposed zoning and use is in compliance with the master plan.
Is there a motion?
To the chair, I recommend support for the recommendation of PCZR 23-0003.
Is there a second?
I second it.
It's been moved by Commissioner Goodwin Dye and seconded by Commissioner Benuti that we accept the favorable recommendation for PCZR 23-0003. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. At this time, I'd like to open the public hearing for PSLU 23-0011, the special use. If there is any public here that would like to share their thoughts or comments regarding PSLU 23-0011, please approach the podium. Again, this is the public hearing for PSLU 23-0011. Given no public, I'm going to close the public hearing. Commissioner Martin?
No questions.
Commissioner Gruber?
No question.
Commissioner Willis?
No questions.
Commissioner Gruber?
Griffiths?
Griffiths?
At least, let's get my name correct. So I'll, kind of want to group my site plan comments and the special use comments together.
Okay.
Because it is a car wash. We've seen a lot of car washes come through the city lately. Apparently, it's a highly desirable building type lately. But this one's even, this is a very deep site, and it's a little deceiving because the dealership site is even deeper than the car wash. So I've been very opposed to shallow car wash sites where the cars back all out onto, let's say, 10 Mile in front of my office. And I think it's dangerous. And we've seen a couple projects in a row with these really deep sites, and this one's even deeper and wider and could stack a lot more cars, it looks like. So I just think this is a good layout, and it's a very large piece of property, and I don't think there's going to be any problems with traffic like they've established already. So looks like a very nice site layout and upgrade to the site. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Griffiths.
You got it.
Commissioner Goodwin Dye?
Nothing.
Commissioner Benuti?
No.
I'd like to call for the recommendation.
Yes, ma'am. Planning Department is recommending a favorable recommendation of the special use. It does meet we believe it does meet the 8 standards that are in the ordinance for this district for special uses, particularly traffic impact, consistency with the master plan, consistency with the zoning district in question, consistency with neighboring land uses. It would be conditioned on approval of the conditional rezoning agreement by City Council, the site plan by City Council, continuous compliance with any all applicable codes, laws, and ordinances, statutes, and hours of operation as indicated by the applicant, Monday through Saturday, 8 a.m. to 7 p.m., Sunday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m.
Is there a recommendation? Oh, I'm sorry. Is there a motion?
To the chair, recommendation for favorable approval of PSLU 23-0011.
Support.
It's been moved by Commissioner Martin and second by Commissioner Willis that we accept a favorable recommendation for PSLU 23-0011. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? The motion carries. Gentlemen, is there any additional information regarding PSP 23-0013 that you'd like to share with us before you share the recommendation?
No, I think we've covered it all, Madam.
Okay, can we have the recommendation?
Yes, ma'am. Once again, we are recommending favorable recommendation for the site plan, in this case for the Matic Auto Wash property. The standards in the ordinance appear to be met, mostly with traffic impact and safety, and consistency with layout and area. Once again, conditioned on approval of the conditional rezoning, the special land use, that the site be developed in accordance with the plans that have been placed before this body, implementation of recommendations by Southfield's Police Department Crime Prevention Unit, our Bureau, and continuous compliance with all applicable laws, codes, and ordinance and statutes.
Commissioners, are there any questions? Commissioner Griffiths?
Just one comment, or two comments. This is a very nice looking design, very modern building. And I just happened to drive past their other location on Telegraph in 96 yesterday, and it's always caught my eye as a very modern, nice, clean design, and I think this is going to be a great addition to this area.
Commissioner Martin?
Just a question. Once again, this is a vending kiosk at the front where there are 2 parking spaces, and the handicapped people park way at the back by the beginning? Okay. Where?
Per the site plan revisions that were submitted, we ended up adding an additional 2 handicap parking stalls right next to that vending layout. And those vending stalls do have vacuums with them as well.
Okay, so they're just not represented on what we have.
It's in there, but it's kind of hard to read at this scale. There are 2 spaces there. Here, I can show you kind of where they're
No,
at. They're right, I don't know if this will give me the spot, right there. So that's
Yeah,
the
but
vending
the-
machine, and that's the 2 handicap spaces, vacuum spaces right there next to
Okay,
it. It's the 2 spaces closest, really.
yeah, okay, I guess the.
It's just
site
not on the
is-
renderings, it's
You
on
don't
the
see
plan.
that, that's the
Yeah.
question, you don't
The
see
renderings haven't been updated, the
handicap
site plan
indications-
has, yeah.
Indicators on there, okay. All right, that was
Commissioner-
my question before and satisfies it, thank you.
Commissioners, are there any additional questions?
No.
Is there a motion?
To the chair, support the recommendation for favorable recommendation, I apologize, for PSP 23-0013.
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Goodwin-Dye and second by Commissioner Martin that we accept a favorable recommendation for PSP 23-0013. All in favor?
Aye.
The motion carries. Okay, moving right along to item E, 1 and 2. We're going to hear the presentation for both at the same time. We'll take a separate vote. Let us first look at PSLU 23-0014, the special use.
Hey, thank you, Madam Chair. This is a quarter at Northwestern and 12 Mile, presently zone B3. They're looking to tear down the 2 buildings kind of on the parcel to the right. They're going to combine the parcels. The building on the left, which was a FedEx store, is going to be renovated into the new gas station, convenience store, carry out with liquor sales. This is a close-up site aerial. So the building on the left in that parcel that's closer to the corner is the one that's being retained. The 2 buildings on the right and the right parcel are going to be torn down. This is existing site conditions. There's the FedEx office building that's going to be renovated. And then the dry cleaner and that small strip center are going to be going away. B3 zoning in the area matches the future land use of commercial office, so those are consistent. This is the site plan. As you can see, the building in the center there will be getting a facelift and serious renovation. You're going to have a small outdoor seating area on the west side of the building in that landscape corner. The public art will be up closer to the corner there. And then the parking and the pump islands will be on the east side of the building along with the loading zones. This is the landscape plan. Once again, you can see it's a fair amount of landscaping, going to be screening the parking areas and some of that interior pump island with some shrubs and trees. And then also that outdoor seating area has pretty good landscape around it. And then the sculpture that's going up at the corner there will have some trees as like ornamental trees as backdrop. There's the floor plan, first floor plan. You got the tenant space in the kind of triangular area. That's where the carryout restaurant will be. The bulk of the space is going to be the C-store and the pay area. And then they do have a small mezzanine that's existing that they're going to use for office and storage. This is the proposed renovation of the exterior of the building, quite a transformation. The building's going to look quite a bit different after this renovation. These are the sides, the west and southwest elevations. So the west elevation, you can see the, it's like a pergola. It's going to give some shade to that outdoor seating area. And then, sorry, next. And we do have the petitioner present to discuss the request.
Good evening, Vincent Oro, 6340 St. James Drive.
Joe Kane, Fieldstone Architecture, 3400 Auburn Road, Auburn Hills. Thank you. We're here before you again for the gas station. As Thomas has mentioned, we're keeping the existing FedEx building, renovating that with the interior and exterior facade. Proposing 8 gas pumps on the east side. We'll have our we have a bus station out on 12 Mile Road with a concrete pad, a bench, and trash can. We have 2 barrier-free parking spaces, 2 EV parking spaces, 1 EV charger that accommodates 2 vehicles, and that's also barrier-free accessible. We have a bike rack that accommodates 4 bikes. And then as Thomas mentioned, we also have the outdoor patio on the west side of the building.
At this time, I'd like to open the public hearing for PSLU 23-0014, special use. If there's any public available to share their thoughts or comments regarding PSLU 23-0014, please approach the podium. Public comment for PSLU 23-0014. Given no public, I'm going to close the public hearing for PSLU 23-0014. Commissioner Bernuti?
No questions.
Commissioner Goodwin-Dye?
No questions.
Commissioner Griffith?
I may have missed this, the last meeting. There was a gas station approved on this site. Is that correct, recently? And is this
Yes.
a different group? I see you're keeping a building, not tearing all the buildings down, but,
Correct.
okay. That's it for me.
Commissioner Willis?
Just clarification for me. I was under the impression that there would be 2 EV stations, and today, 1 EV station that accommodates 2 cars.
That's correct.
Okay.
So there's 2 parking spaces that would, you have 2 vehicles being charged at the same time out of 1 unit.
Okay, I understand. Is there any room to expand that in the event everyone winds up with EVs?
Yes, as the demand becomes more and more, they would increase the EV charging stations.
So is it just a
It's
matter of
still a
putting in?
relatively new, so the technology is constantly changing on this. So yes, as it becomes more and more, add stations to that. And we have enough space to do that to the site.
Just to keep it clear for me, do you have to do anything different to add an EV station, or do you? Okay. So it's kind of built into the plans as it is?
Correct, correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Commissioner Gruber?
No questions.
Commissioner Martin?
You have an ice chest on the 12-mile end of the building,
Correct.
and you have, I think, 17 or so doors on your cooler and then a freezer inside. The city went through a thing, and we went through a thing where we were eliminating outdoor ice chests without exception, and that's been codified for the city. So,
If I could, I can address that, Madam Chair, through the chair. When it got to city council, they elected not to follow your recommendation exactly. They made some exceptions to allow the ice chests. At the, I would say, the avocation of the gas station owners kind of won the day on that argument. So they elected not to be as exclusive on the ice chests as the proposed amendment originally was, which is their prerogative.
okay, our prerogative is we've got 17 coolers inside and a 3-4-door ice freezer inside. What is the need for the ice chest outside? I mean, with with all the cooling area. why
Well,
is it
Commissioner Martin, if the city council has already given their blessings on that, I'm really not sure if it makes an argument for us.
It is explicitly permitted in the C3,
Yes.
in the B3 for a gas station to have an outdoor cooler as long as it is ADA accessible, which their design it meets that standard.
Commissioner
Thank you.
Willis?
But just to weigh in, what is the standard? We are looking at a standard because that's what we're going to seek to apply. So are we going to have exceptions, or I'm just not sure where we are when we make that, when we're called on to make that decision again.
Yeah, the accessibility standards evolve, but this particular unit that they're proposing is at present considered an accessible unit. That it is such that someone in a wheelchair could open the door and pull a bag of ice out. It's not one of the ones you have to lean into in the bottom. It's more of a little easier to entrance and a little lower door. And will we see that standard for ADA accessibility change in 10 years? Probably. They've changed my entire life. So I wouldn't expect them not to change some more. But at present, this would be considered an accessible ice chest.
I understand what you're saying, what the city has published in the ordinance,
Yes, and the ordinance that was published, the one council adopted, permits the ice
and
chests.
that's what they have.
Yeah.
Commissioners, are there any additional questions? Is there a motion?
Yes.
Oh, Commissioner Martin?
You said that there were 8 pumps. Are they two-sided pumps? So you
Yes.
actually have 16.
Correct.
Okay, that's, because that was pointed out, it's 8 in it, and there's a difference, you know.
Being pumped by 16 pumps, correct.
Yeah, okay, and that's it.
Commissioners, are there any additional questions? No. Is there a motion?
Yes, ma'am. The planning department does recommend favorable recommendation. As noted in the B3, we see that they did actually eliminate 2 curb cuts by getting that parking lot closer to the corner on the other side of the building. They took that out, which was at our request. And the site circulation is fairly good there. It's actually probably better. Instead of 4 curb cuts, now there's only 2. And they're further from the corner, so we think that this is an actual improvement to the traffic flow in the area. The site does appear to be designed to be reasonably compatible with the surrounding land uses and the master plan. And we are obviously going to condition that on the approval of the site plan by City Council and continuous compliance with all applicable ordinance, cause, laws, and statutes.
Is there a motion? Is there a motion?
Okay.
Madam Chair, I make the motion for PSLU 23-0014, special use.
Is there a second?
Support.
It's been moved by Commissioner Bernuti and second by Commissioner Goodwin-Dye that we accept the favorable recommendation for PSLU 23-0014. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed?
Let the-
Opposed? I'm sorry.
Let the record, the motion carries, that the record reflects that Commissioner Martin and Commissioner Willis denied the proposal. Before we move on to PSP 23-0014, I'd like for the department, when the city council makes a major change like that, please let us know about it beforehand. We don't want to get to this point in our review and be blindsided.
Yes,
So,
ma'am.
we
What I
didn't
could do
know
is send the
about that.
final version to the commission once it's adopted, if that
Yeah,
would be acceptable.
yeah, well, we'd like to even know that it's being considered, because we don't know that until we get to this forum, and we don't like to be blindsided,
Yes, ma'am.
okay? Moving right on, are there any questions, commissioners, regarding PSP 23-0014, the site plan? Commissioner Martin?
No questions at this moment.
Oh, okay. Commissioner Gruber?
No question.
Commissioner Willis?
No questions.
Commissioner Griffiths?
A few. this was already approved as a gas station, as a new gas station recently. So there's been a lot of debate of, there's probably too many gas stations in the city of Southfield. I think the gas prices in the city of Southfield are ridiculously high compared to other cities, but that's not what, we don't have the ability to talk about that today. I do like this project, how it's keeping the existing building and reusing it, flipping the front to the other side, because I think that really improves the safety of this site. There was a lot of curb cuts, and it was a dangerous triangle, I think. So I think focusing the gas station more towards the east is a benefit. Have the other benefit of keeping an existing building and totally repurposing it. I think that's good. I think when you're doing a major project, you can eliminate ugly things like outdoor ice storage that they're ugly in general. But I do see on the site plan that they have enough room to provide concrete around it and barrier-free access and all the things the really old gas stations in the city don't have, which is what the point of the ordinance to move everything indoors was, plus to clean up visual clutter. So I guess you hear a lot of opinions that we don't really think it's going to look really great to have an ice chest sitting outside, but the rest of the project is a really nice looking project. So I think it's a good site plan compared to the couple versions that we've seen on this same site right now. And I like how you're adaptively reusing the existing building.
Commissioner Goodwin-Dye? Commissioner Benuti?
No question.
Commissioner Martin?
Yes. In the Northwestern Highway, the U-turn lane there, do you anticipate any problem with traffic coming through the U-turn and keeping straight across into the gas station?
No.
Rather than,
We've eliminated that problem, which was one of the big concerns. So we actually eliminated people being able to pull in and go right through. The entrance is actually set back from the Michigan U-turn.
Further east than the traffic turning and going north.
what I'm seeing is the possibility of 2 lanes turning there
Yeah.
and someone just cutting straight across.
Trying to do
That's
this.
it.
Go from this driveway to this driveway, right here.
Yeah. From the U-turn lane straight across.
Yep.
I see the crosswalk is marked there, so I guess it's more gonna be more of a policing problem than a traffic problem for you. And that's something we need to point out to the police department, that's something that they're gonna need to.
We're also working with them and on the drive approach, so.
Commissioner Willis?
Yeah, let me support Commissioner Griffin, too. The way it was set up before with the driveway where you could cut across the diagonal, I must have seen 50 cars make that cut. I think it was, absolutely a hazard. I'm glad to see it go, and I really appreciate the design that you have out there. So in that sense, thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioners, are there any additional questions? Is there a motion?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, I'm sorry, the recommendation?
Sorry, recommendation. Yes, ma'am. The department is recommending favorable recommendation of the site plan for the gas station. We do believe that it is an improvement to the traffic safety with the elimination of those 2 curb cuts closer to the corner, and the offset driveways make it less likely to be a cut-through. Additionally, the landscaping and other improvements in sidewalks and bike racks or other pedestrian improvements are an improvement to the site. I agree with Commissioner Griffiths. I've seen the previously approved plan. This is a superior site plan over the previous approval, particularly because of the elimination of that parking lot and those extra curb cuts. That's the biggest gain. And we would be conditioned on the approval of the special land use by City Council and conditioned on the plans before you in your packet this evening. And once again, with the Police Department's Crime Prevention Bureau, if they have any recommendations, and then continuous compliance with all applicable ordinances, codes, laws, and statutes.
Now, is there a motion?
Okay.
Commissioner Griffith?
I'd like to make a favorable recommendation, a motion for favorable recommendation, PSP 23-0014.
Is there a second?
Support.
It's been moved by Commissioner, I'm sorry?
Looks like he has a question.
Yeah, no,
He was seconding, weren't you?
yeah, she did.
Okay. All right. It's been moved by Commissioner Griffiths and second by Commissioner Goodwin Dye that we accept the favorable recommendation for PSP 23-0014. All in favor?
Aye.
The motion carries. Moving right along, we're going to take a look at PSP 23-0015, the site plan.
Yes, ma'am. This is the City of Southfield Public Works Facility on Clara Lane, the end of Clara Lane. They are looking to put a new storage building onto the facility up in the northeast corner, I guess. It's the east corner. It's weird, it's a triangle. Its current zoning is RC, Regional Center. Future land use map is community facilities and other institutions. Probably was designated that in the master plan because it's been a community facility since the 1960s. Here's the site aerial of the existing facility. Oops, and here's the existing conditions. You can kind of see everything that's on there, the existing parking and pattern of use. This is some existing photos coming into the site from the end of Clara Lane at the top there toward the animal shelter building, and then further when you're getting to the main round building in the back. Some just of the storage that's on the site. And this is the actual close-up of the site plan where they're proposing the storage building in that east corner there along the M10 freeway. Some elevations of the building. You got a door on each, overhead door on each end, a man door on the ends and on the sides, and on one side, and then you've got quite a bit of just open storage in the building. As noted previously, the building is not heated, but it does have electricity, or will have electricity. We do have the petitioner here.
Hi.
I'm Patrick Ryan, Public Works Director for the City of Southfield, 26,000 Evergreen Road, wonderful city of Southfield.
Christopher Ozog, OHM Advisors, 34,000 Plymouth Road, Livonia, Michigan. And again, just to reiterate the goals of the project, there's a lot of existing equipment that's outside, and the goals of this project was to provide a indoor facility that those can be stored in, seasonal equipment, so that it's not beaten up by the weather throughout the year.
All right. Commissioner Bernuti.
I think it's a good project, especially in the equipment being inside so that it won't get rusted out and whatever. And in the long run, it'll save us money not having to replace as often or repair. I have no questions, though.
Commissioner Goodwin Dye.
No questions.
Commissioner Griffiths.
Anybody comment on the colors of this building? the previous pre-engineered building that tried to come in. I have no comments, I'm just curious. That's all.
Commissioner Willis.
I have no questions.
Commissioner Gruber.
I'm good.
Commissioner Martin.
What color are the exterior?
Looks great.
Is there a motion? Oh, is there a recommendation?
Yes, ma'am. The planning department does recommend favorable recommendation of the site plan. I did want to note that the city council did approve the amendment making this a permitted use in this district on Monday. So now we can approve a site plan for it because it wasn't a permitted use before. So we just have to wait for them to, they still got to enact and publish it, but they did approve it. So we are looking at a favorable recommendation for the site plan request for the construction of a new storage building at the Public Works facility on Clara. It is not a traffic hazard, tucked back in there as it is. It actually allows them to get some of that external storage that's kind of spread about the site into a consolidated covered area. We are looking at the only condition being that the site and building be developed according to the plans by OHM advisors, revision dated October 2nd, 2023.
Okay. Commissioners, is there a motion?
Madam Chair, I make a motion for PSP 23-0015 that we approve this.
Is there a second?
Support.
It's been moved by Commissioner Bernuti and second by Commissioner Willis that we accept a favorable recommendation for PSP 23-0015. All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Moving right along, thank you, gentlemen. Moving right along, we're going to take a look at PSP LU 23-0015, and PSP 23-0016. The presentation will be collective. The vote will be independent.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As noted, this is 29410 Northwestern Highway. It is zoned B3. It is a multi-tenant building anchored by the Baco Restaurant, which has been there for a number of years. They are looking to transform that part of the building and a good portion of the building into a private club and restaurant, along with a smoking lounge / cigar bar and bar lounge. So it's a combination of permitted and special uses that this will be made up. It's a little complicated that way. The current zoning here is B3. Future land use is also commercial office, so that's consistent. This is the existing facility here in a little more closer site aerial. As you can see, it's parking in the front and the rear and down the east side with access from Northwestern. There is a screening wall at the north end where it comes up against a multifamily residential use. Some photos of the site coming in off of Northwestern down the side. This is, the top one is at the back looking toward the screening wall that butts the multifamily residential, and then down, you can look down the other side there on the west side of the building. This is a proposed site plan. They are going to be adding on to the building on the front and moving the outdoor dining area further forward, so it does transform the parking a little bit, an arrangement at the front of the site. The landscape plan, there will be refreshed landscaping for the site. There's already a fair amount of landscaping there, but with some of the modifications they're making, they'll have to refresh some of that. This is the partial first floor plan for the southern half of the building. Shows the outdoor dining, the main dining room, the bar, and then you get into like a retail area. There's the kitchen, humidors, and then the northern half of the building, you've got the 4 tenant spaces, and you can see there's a couple of private or party rooms, and the retail cigar shop is that little northern space there. And then there's the second floor. You've got a partial plan. It only goes over parts of the building. You can see it's not over the far left side there. It is on the other part. It's office, mechanical, storage. Here's the other part of that upper area. Some renderings of what the building will look like when the renovations are complete. Quite a bit of a change on that facade. It's going to really freshen it up and give it a new look. Here's the actual elevations. This would be the east side of the building on the top, and then you've got I believe the west side of the building, and then this is the south end of the building facing toward Northwestern. We do have the petitioner here to answer any questions. I will note that the last item on the agenda are the smoking lounge development standard amendments that would be necessary for this to be approved without substantial variances. It is a special land use in this district now, but the site development standards currently on the books require quite a bit of more separation from residential and some other items. So this approval would have to be conditional on those zoning amendments passing.
Hello.
Hi.
My name is Luciano Del Signore, and I'm the chef owner of Baco Ristorante. Have been there since 2002. Coming up on my 22nd anniversary on that site in Southfield, and I've been very successful on that property. And COVID has changed the complexity of my fine dining restaurant, and we're looking to make a sizable capital investment on this property to create something new that I think is going to be a great draw and a great new project for the community. I've had a great run here in Southfield, and I don't want to go anywhere. I like doing business here. The community has been great to me. The location, I think, is second to none, and I've enlisted Soroki architecture firm to help me really design something beautiful. And this is Alex Soroki, and I'll let him take over from here.
Thank you, Luciano. Good evening. I'm Alex Soroki with Soroki Architecture. Excited to be here again to present the cigar bar and restaurant. The existing structure is a multi-tenant building with Baco as the anchor tenant, occupying more than 50% of the center. Our design expands the building to the south, closer to Northwestern Highway, where Baco's outdoor dining is today. With the expansion, we are improving the drive aisle circulation at the front of the site, introducing a pedestrian pathway, bike racks, and a substantial landscape plan. Our proposal includes 160 seats indoors and 40 seats outdoors. Today, Baco has 160 seats indoors and 60 seats outdoors. The exterior of the building will be renovated to feature new spaces and a dramatic new entrance. The entrance is enhanced with a modern steel and glass canopy. We're using very high-quality materials, stucco, Trespa panels, cast stone. There'll be all-new windows and glass, and there's a large new skylight over the dining room. Our massing is more modern. We're keeping the massing low at the front entrance of the site and stepping up with the entry being the high point. Our approach to the exterior is to keep the cigar restaurant and bar more unified rather than the village look that exists today. We are creating new flat roof areas for the mechanical equipment. We're cleaning up 2/3 of the existing mechanical equipment that is currently exposed on the west side of the building. The remaining equipment will be screened. We're introducing a first-class ventilation system that will exceed typical standards for health and comfort. The cigar restaurant and bar will feature all new interiors and decor, which will be warm and rich. The first level features a bar and lounge, formal dining room, which is proposed to be non-smoking. There's covered outdoor dining, 2 private dining rooms, wine cellars, walk-in humidors, and a small retail space. The existing kitchen is to remain. The second level footprint is being reduced and used for mechanical equipment, storage, and a few offices. The existing parking lot has 74 spaces, and one of the biggest improvements we've made since we were before you at the study session 2 weeks ago was we were able to pick up 7 parking spaces. So we are providing the same number of parking spaces that exist today on the site. Baco has operated successfully for more than 20 years with more seats than what is being proposed today. Valet operation will manage parking like they do now without any issues. We do have a shared parking agreement with our neighbor to the west, and actually Luciano's had an agreement since he opened Baco over 20 years ago, and there's an existing pass-through on the site. I wanted to mention that peak demands of the other tenants in the center and the adjacent property are different than our peak demand, which is in the evenings. We're very excited for the next chapter for this restaurant with the new cigar restaurant and bar. Thank you for the consideration, and of course, we're happy to answer any questions you have.
Thank you. At this time, I'd like to open the public hearing for PSLU 23-0015. If there's any public here that would like to share their thoughts or comments, please approach the podium for PSLU 23-0015. Given there's no public here, I'd like to close the public hearing for PSLU 23-0015. Commissioner Martin.
Can you show us where you said there was pass-through for parking?
Yes, it's right, I kind of got the pointer on it, there's a gate there.
Yes,
That can be opened between the 2 sites.
It's always open, there's no gate.
Oh, yeah, it's just a fence, there's an opening in the fence.
There's an opening in the fence that's
Yeah.
always open. There's no open or
right there.
close.
So your parking agreement would use that as access back
Yeah,
and forth?
yeah, we
between the
use,
two?
it's
Okay.
it's rare we use that extra spaces there if we do a very large event for a big private event where, or sometimes if you do a corporate event where every person is bringing a card, not like couples, but it's like kind of
Yeah.
like a fundraising event where everybody's showing up, then we might use some spaces over there, but we just keep the agreement open there. We're very neighborly with our neighbors, and we've always had the fence open, but we can manage our business quite well on our property.
Yeah, I was wondering because
Yeah.
my concern was valet having
Yeah.
to go around, but if you share it that way, it sounds good. That's very good.
Yeah.
I have no other questions
Commissioner Gruber?
at this time.
Sorry. I do have a question about the daycare, the facility at Franklin.
Yep.
So that's on the far side of the Franklin building, not the side that's
Mm-hmm.
closest to them? So how does that affect the 150 feet?
Yeah, the current ordinance, it would be considered property line to property line, 0, so that would be a problem. So amending it to make it to the playground, which is on the north side of the, and the things on the other end, that it would be acceptable. We did look into that because Commissioner Martin rightfully identified there's a preschool there which counts as a licensed daycare. So I had to tweak that language to address that issue. And after talking to Terry Crode about it and the staff, we thought, what we're really concerned about is the interaction between the smoking lounge and an outdoor playground for school or church or daycare. What's happening inside the building is less of a problem. So we decided to tweak that language, and you'll see it in the amendment when we get to it. But it was taking into account that the playground for that preschool is on the north side of the building, and it's
And the
about,
kids are always
it's
on
about
that.
300 feet away, so there's some
Oh,
good
okay.
separation there.
Okay.
Yep.
Great, thank you. That's it.
Commissioner Willis?
Thank you. Okay, there it is. I think the last time we met, I asked you about the word private. Private allows you to discriminate based on your membership, and you assured us that you have no intent of doing that. Would you have any objection to adding, just to the language of the approval, that you'll be fully in compliance with the Michigan and federal civil rights laws?
Absolutely. I would have
Okay.
absolutely no problem with that.
Okay, thank you.
That's it. Commissioner Griffith?
Just a question to staff. So the special use is because of the smoking lounge component of this?
Yeah, it
or-
would be the addition of the smoking lounge as the special land use that's triggering this approval.
Okay.
The bar lounge was already there, but because they're doing such a transformation of the property, the special land use will now cover the bar lounge and the smoking lounge approvals going forward.
Okay. And I don't know if it's the same, but for like cannabis smoking lounges, there's a ton of state of Michigan rules. So high ventilation standards you started to mention. So I assume that most of the smoking is filtered and it's not leaving the building at all.
Lot of scrubbing, air scrubbing, and we're gonna overbuild that. You know, we've asked the engineers to, whatever you spec for this, I mean, double it. We really want clean air.
Right.
It's our goal to have the cleanest smoking air.
Is there outdoor smoking allowed in the outdoor area?
There is. I mean, when you have the cigar bar license with it, you can really smoke anywhere in that building with the license. We're electing, you know, to hold spaces to be non-smoking by choice, not by the ordinance
Okay.
or the license.
Yeah, I don't have a problem. I guess, reminding all of us that there's a lot of other rules above this board that regulates some of these things. So, okay, thank you.
Commissioner Goodwin-Dye? Commissioner Benuti?
Can you tell me, you said that it's going to be a private club and restaurant. Is there a membership involved in it, and you being a member, and what are the requirements?
We're really working through a lot of those details and trying to figure out what's going to be best for the space. If it's going to be all private, some private, we haven't identified that, or fees. There's still things we're trying to work through. But we're going to, you know, do what we think is best, you know, for the business to make sure that it's successful and it's a good draw for Southfield and a good destination location. I think that's what the property needs. Is I think we used to be supported just by the office buildings that were near me. I didn't have to go far to get my reach in my business, and those office buildings haven't come back to full capacity, and most of them aren't even at half capacity, and it's affected us. So we need to reach out a little bit further, and we're going to still work on developing that plan.
Thank you, it's a beautiful facility.
Thank you.
Excellent food.
Thank you.
Commissioner Martin?
You currently open and operating?
Oh, yes.
Commissioners, are there any other questions?
No.
Is there a motion? Oh, is there a recommendation?
The planning department recommends favorable recommendation of the special use request for the smoking lounge and bar lounge addition to the private club restaurant uses which are permitted. The standards for special use in the B3 district appear to be met. There's no substantial traffic impacts. We believe with the way it's been designed, there shouldn't be any substantial off-site issues with smoke or any of those sorts of issues. and that it is consistent with the development of the area and the current, future, prior use of the property. There are a couple of conditions: approval of the site plan by City Council, approval of the zoning text amendment by City Council, and approval of any necessary zoning waivers. We know that this shared parking arrangement does require a zoning board approval. It's specifically in the ordinance, if there's a dual usage with complementary hours, that requires a zoning board to authorize that. So they will be going to the zoning board should council approve the special land use and site plan to get that dual use parking arrangement approved.
I would like to make a part of that recommendation that membership selection in a private club would not offend either federal or state civil rights laws.
We can add that.
Okay.
Commissioners, is there a motion?
I'd like to make the motion for PSLU 23-0015 and for approval.
Is there a second? Support. It's been moved by Commissioner Bernuti and second by Commissioner Goodwin-Dye that we accept the favorable recommendation for PSLU 23-0015. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? The motion carries. Commissioners, are there any additional questions or comments for PSP 23-0016? Commissioner Martin? None?
None. He answered with the parking. Yeah.
Commissioner Gruber?
No.
Commissioner Willis?
None, thank you.
Commissioner Griffith?
I have several.
Okay.
What, the tenant spaces to the north, or to the back of the site, I guess I've been there to the restaurant a few times, very good, usually December 21st, my anniversary. But like, what's back there? That's always been.
There's
been-
actually 4 tenants back there. There's, when I showed up at the property, that the oldest tenant is the massage parlor all the way at the back. It's small. There's a little shop next to it that does small private events. He rents his space out to little community functions back there. It's quite nice. He decorates it very, very well. His name is Charles. There's a staffing agency next to them, and I think a photographer next to the staffing agency. So there's just 4 little tenants I've got back there, and
So
most of them, the
different
one I
hours.
adopt, like I said, when I showed up on the property 22 years ago, that the parlor was back there, and then the other ones I've added in, and there's just extra space in the building that I just don't need, and I take good care of the tenants, and I think they get some of the most favorable rent in town, and free coffee.
I really like the design, really nice improvement to the building too. Because it is that kind of village,
Yeah.
it's odd because you can't see it. You don't
Yeah,
never get a
it's
view
always
of the
been
side of it,
odd.
But it doesn't really matter what's at the back, it matters what's at the front, I think, to you, obviously. But yeah, I think this is a great improvement to the site and the modernizing the building, so give you that whole nother run, a whole nother style of restaurant and everything. So I think it's a really nice project.
Thank you.
Commissioner Goodwin-Dye? Commissioner Bernuti? Commissioners, are there any additional questions regarding PSP 23-0016?
I have a question for, if they already have an existing parking arrangement, what is the change?
Technically, the increased floor area created a requirement for additional parking.
Parking, okay.
Yeah, because it's by square footage. Even though their amount of seating is actually going down, the floor area is going up because of the retail space and some of the other things they're doing. So it's one of those ones where the calculation is just driving a number that's not necessarily reflected by the intensity of the use. It happens.
Commissioners, are there any additional questions? No. I'd like to call for the recommendation.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Planning Department does recommend favorable recommendation for the site plan for the proposed private club, restaurant, smoking lounge, bar lounge at 29410 Northwestern. We do not anticipate any negative traffic impacts, as the intensity of use is similar or even perhaps a little lower than the prior usage. The connection between the 2 properties that are sharing parking that doesn't require them to go out onto Northwestern is an advantage on that. And we do wanted to deal with a couple of conditions, that the special land use be approved by city council, that the text amendment 23-005 also be approved by city council, and then any required zoning waivers be granted by the zoning board of appeals, that the plans be conditioned on the submitted plan prepared by Siroki Architecture dated October 6th, and the petitioner to implement any recommendations of the police department's crime prevention bureau and continuous compliance with all applicable ordinance codes, laws, and statutes.
Okay. Commissioners, is there a motion?
I move for favorable recommendation of PSP 23-0016.
Is there a second?
Second it.
It's been moved by Commissioner Willis and second by Commissioner Bernuti that we accept the favorable recommendation for PSP 23-0016. All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, gentlemen. Good luck to you.
Thank you, Commissioners. Thank you.
I'd like to hear more information regarding PSLU 23-0016.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is an existing small multi-tenant shopping center on 9 Mile near Telegraph Road. It is zone B3 general business. The future land use on that is commercial office. It is in the Telegraph or the Telegraph corridor there. This is a site aerial showing the existing center. The unit that they're looking to reoccupy with the staffing office is that one in the middle. But when this came forward for discussion, it was thought that if they were going to come forward and make this effort, they should seek approval to have office tenants in all of the tenant spaces. That way they wouldn't necessarily have to come back if they got an accountant to fill a tenant space or something to that effect. There are 5 spaces. They're all relatively small. There's ample parking at the site. The site's in fairly good condition. Some photos of the site. You got a Jet's Pizza, Peter Shop, a couple other uses in there. I visited the site. It's in reasonably good shape. We do have the petitioner here. And as we noted, and I'm not 100% sure why I've talked to Planner Crota about this, but general offices are a special land use in the B3 district rather than a permitted use, even though we allow medical offices as a permitted use. We are looking at potentially rectifying that to allow a little more flexibility for refilling these kinds of spaces in our B3 districts. But that'll be for a future date. It'll come before you when we have something ready for you. So we do have the petitioner here, though, to answer any questions.
Hi, Stephen Band, one of the members of Telenine Plaza. We've owned the property over 40 years. Proud to be in Southfield. What else do we need? The management office, 31,000 Northwestern Highway, Farmington Hills, Michigan.
Thank you. I'd like to open the public hearing for PSLU 23-0016. If there's any public here that'd like to share thoughts or comments regarding PSLU 23-0016, please approach the podium. Again, the public hearing for PSLU 23-0016 is now open. Given that no public has approached the podium, we're going to close the public hearing for PSLU 23-0016. Commissioner Martin.
My only comment or question goes back to the staff is that do we have other areas in the city that this would impact?
You mean the limitation on office uses?
Yes.
Generally? It does vary quite a bit by district, but obviously we have a lot of districts that allow office use because we have a lot of office buildings. It's generally, for some reason, the B districts that for some reason seem to restrict this general office but allow medical office. My guess would be the theory was medical office is more of a retail use. People come and get those services where not all general offices are open to the public.
Well, let me correct that a little bit. If I remember correctly, we were saying this was along Telegraph?
This is on 9 Mile near Telegraph, yes.
Along the Telegraph corridor. So are there any other B3 locations that this could impact?
I think,
it seemed like we're looking at it for this area.
Right.
can we cover anything else that's along there at the same time?
Yeah, any B3 zoning district, whether it be on Telegraph or it be on one of the mile roads or on Evergreen, would have the same restriction, which is why amending the code eventually to correct this, to allow all the B3 districts a little more flexibility might be the better long-term approach than having them all come individually for special land use approvals,
But you're saying, they would still have to come in individually?
unless we amend the code. This is just an approval for this property. This is a special land use, not a zoning amendment.
Okay.
Commissioner Gruber?
No.
Commissioner Willis?
Nothing.
Commissioner Griffiths?
This is the second one recently because it's a 10-mile and Telegraph building that I actually consider buying. Would have needed this same approval to become an office building, which I would have used it for, not a dry cleaner right at the time. So I think maybe in the future, we do need to take a closer look because, you know, the market's going to dictate. If an office user can afford to be in a main floor retail space like this, I mean, a staffing agency is almost more retail. They need to be easy to find. The public's coming there maybe for the first time, and, you know, versus my accountant is in this office building. I go there once a year, and it's quiet. So I mean, I have no opposal or opposition to this project. It makes sense. So maybe just need to make it easier for people to do business in the city on these type of uses in the future.
Agreed.
Commissioner Goodwin-Dye?
I'm unclear of what kind of business is going to go here.
It's, the business that brought this up is they're trying to, that 10 space, they want to put a staffing agency office in there. So I think Mr. Graham might be better explain it, but I believe the staffing company is one that, like, there are employers who need temporary workers or fill-in workers for jobs, and a staffing agency will help them fill those positions on a temporary basis rather than
Like a
permanent
Kelly.
hires.
Like a Kelly service, something.
Yeah, like Kelly Services, very similar. Kelly, and the other one would be like Manpower is another company that does a similar function. They're big firms that do staffing agency type work.
Okay. Thank you.
Commissioner Benuti?
There's currently a Jet's Pizza there. I
Correct.
think that's the only thing that's there.
I'm sorry, my hearing aids aren't.
Oh, I'm sorry. There's a Jet's Pizza there now?
There's a
Will
Jet's
they be
Pizza.
moving?
They've been there for years.
Right.
There's PC Supply that's been there over 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
Gabby, the stylist, in the process of an eviction. The judge said she has 2 days to leave. The rest is empty.
Okay, so they'll be leaving, and this will all be just commercial, professional office buildings?
Correct. There's 5 stores,
Right,
5 units.
all right, thank you.
Are there any additional questioners, commissioners? Call for the recommendation.
Yes, ma'am. The Planning Department recommends favorable recommendation of the special use request for Tel 9 Plaza. We do find that the proposed office use is in harmony and appropriate in the general business district. It would not be of any harm to the other tenants of the building or the neighboring properties. Relatively low intensity use. Not a substantial traffic impact. If anything, an office use of this sort might be lower volume than some retail uses you would put in. Not likely to have any off-site, as an office use, off-site impacts in terms of nuisance. And we do recommend that the only condition would be the continuous compliance with all applicable ordinance codes, laws, and statutes, kind of our blanket condition.
Commissioners, is there a motion?
To the chair. Okay. I move for favorable recommendation for PSLU 23-0016.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Goodwin-Dye and second by Commissioner Martin that we accept the favorable recommendation for PSLU 23-0016. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Before we proceed to the staff, there's been some discussion about modifying the ordinance or the parameters for this. Could you make a note that we'd like for you to consider doing that before we have another applicant,
Yes, ma'am.
to save people time and money?
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
It's on the list. We're definitely getting in the
All right.
works.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
At this time, I'd like to hear a little bit more about PZTA 23-0005, the zoning text amendment.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As mentioned, this is an amendment to the site development standards for smoking lounges, which are your cigar bars and your hookah lounges. The existing standards are very restrictive, even if you compare them to other uses we have that have similar restrictions. And the BACO proposal that we've heard this evening was one that was brought forward to us, and we realized this was to the point where it was really curtailing what would otherwise be a legitimate business. They did go before City Council and kind of generally explain their proposal to them, and City Council directed staff to revisit the ordinance to see if we could assist this new restaurant cigar bar concept in terms of moving forward. So we did investigate the code, looked at other standards in the code, and tried to see if we could figure out a way to sort of maintain the intent of the ordinance without being quite as restrictive. It is in 3 places in the ordinance because it's the same site development standards in all 3 districts in which this is permitted as special land use. That's why the text amendment lists 3 sections of the ordinance. But it's the same language. It's the same language in all 3 sections. So what we've got is the distance between smoking lounges. The existing language is a half mile, which is pretty considerable. Unfortunately, there's only one other approved smoking lounge in the city, and it's, I believe it's called Casa de Monte Cristo, and it's down Northwestern, and it's about 1,700 feet away. So looking at the other distance separations we do use 1,500 feet a fair bit. The 2 most common distance separations in the code are 200 feet and 1,500 feet. So we thought for consistency, if we lowered it to 1,500, it would solve our current problem and be consistent with other similar provisions in the ordinance. 1,500 feet is still a pretty good separation. I mean, if you figure a typical city block in a more urban area is about 300 feet, gives you an idea of, it's about 5 city blocks would be about the separation. The next piece, number 4, it's the minimum separation between uses. We had a 500-foot separation from any residential zoning district, school, religious institution, park, childcare facility, firearm dealer, business selling alcohol. And that was property line to property line, because that's what those distances are always, property line to property line, unless they say otherwise. And looking at, once again, what was nearby, we have a multifamily residential use to the north that's at 0 to 0 on the property line, but there's a fair amount of separation between the actual smoking lounge and that north property line, and then the first residential unit's a fair amount from that property line as well. So we thought we'd put it as a 200-foot to any use, residential use rather than district, and we'd measure that from the exterior of the structure of the smoking lounge to the parcel line of the residential, so that if you're out in your yard, you still got that 200-foot separation. And then the second part of that had to do with the 200-foot separation to outdoor playgrounds and schools, childcare facilities, religious institutions, parks, or similar uses. The idea when we thought about those restrictions was what we really don't want to do is impact people's enjoyment of the outdoors with potential smoke. So the 200-foot separation dealt with the childcare center, preschool that's next door. Its playground is on the north side of that building. It's about 350 feet away. So 200 foot is the other most common separation used in the ordinance. So we thought that was a good fit there, and really focused on what we thought the potential negative impact would be, rather than just kind of grab a bunch of uses that may or may not be a concern. Item 5 was the outdoor smoking, and there's already a provision of the outdoor patios for smoking had to be at least 20 feet from the entrance of another business or outdoor dining area. We added of another business just to make it clear that not the outdoor dining area of this use, but the outdoor dining of any other use would have to be separated. And then we did add it near than 300 feet to any residentially used parcel or any outdoor playground. So if you have outdoor smoking, if it's indoor smoking, it has to be 200 feet away from those things. If it's outdoor smoking, it has to be 300 feet away from them. So we're giving that additional 100 foot from the outdoor smoking for the air to mix and disperse. And then we did add a provision to odor control. There was already a requirement for improved ventilation in a smoking lounge, but we picked some language out of the marijuana ordinances about odor control, and we're requiring them to comply, provide us with an odor control plan. providing their description of other odor control methods and equipments will comply with the sections and not provide for smoking or smoke issues on neighboring properties. That was an addition just to make sure that the ventilation requirement was strengthened a little bit more. And that's would allow this project to go forward without all of those variances and still seem to meet the intent of that ordinance with regard to regulating smoking lounges. I will note that we only have one other legal one in the city. So it's not like there's 16 or 17 of them. This will be number 2. And Casa de Montecristo doesn't have outdoor smoking. That's all indoors. It's mostly a tobacco shop, but also you have the ability to go in there and buy and try the product in the facility. They were grandfathered when the ban started because they were already in existence as JR Cigar.
Okay, I'd like to open the public hearing for PZTA 23-0005. Like to open the public hearing for PZTA 23-0005. Any public interested in sharing their thoughts or comments, please approach the podium. For PZTA 23-0005. Given that no public has approached the podium, I'm going to close the public hearing for PZTA 23-0005. Commissioner Bernuti?
I have no questions.
Commissioner Goodwin-Dye?
No question.
Commissioner Griffiths?
Just having read a lot of cannabis ordinances in other cities that are impossible to enforce, this sounds realistic. They usually say, if it's objectionable at all, the smell, which is impossible to do. So I think this is a good wording that gives you some control, but it's actually attainable by the business owner.
Commissioner Willis?
I think I agree, but just the statute is very clear. It's tobacco and cigar. But vaping and marijuana smoking is going to be more and more and more part of the public venue. And I am wondering if, even though the language is clear, if in time we're going to evolve to some other kind of situation. Again, more thinking out loud than a suggestion or anything, but, I think the language is clear.
Commissioner Gruber? No question. Commissioner Martin?
If I understood correctly, you said for indoor smoke, there's a 300-foot separation?
Be the 200 feet. So the 200-foot separation would be from the exterior of the smoking lounge to the uses needed. The 300-foot is from the outdoor smoking to the listed uses. So a little more distance for the outdoor smoking because it's outdoors. It's not contained in the building.
But the thing about the outdoor, you have more chance for disbursement on outdoor than indoor. So it seems a little, counterproductive to have a shorter distance when you have a larger area, a greater possibility of dispersing the odor. It just seems a little odd that,
I mean, they could all be 200 if we wanted to keep it consistent. That's also an option.
yeah, and then here, yeah, it sounds inconsistent to have a greater distance for a more confined area. It just doesn't seem logical to me.
Yeah.
It's not.
Yeah.
The outdoor one's further distance.
Yeah, the outdoor is further, the indoor is shorter.
Yes.
Yeah, but the outdoor, you have more chance for disbursement because you're outdoors.
Yeah, and you got 100 more feet that you're required to be
Yeah.
apart.
Yeah, because the indoor smoke, before it gets outside, has to go through the mechanical ventilation system and filtering. So you can be closer because it's mechanically dealing with the smoke. Outdoors, there's not going to be any mechanical treatment of that smoke. It's just going to be out there.
Just the air outdoors.
Yeah. And air smoke does disperse. You have 300 feet, that's an entire city block. If you're smelling that tobacco a city block away, man, if somebody's smoking like a chimney, you know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I get you. It was really more, sometimes you up the number because people are like, well, if it's outdoors and we're talking about playgrounds, we'd rather have more distance. And we can meet that distance at this site without a problem, but could it be a problem on another site? Possibly.
Commissioners, are there any additional questions or comments?
No.
Given none, may I have the recommendation?
Yes, Madam President. We are recommending favorable recommendation of the draft ordinance before you dated October 25th, 2023, to amend the Article 14, Article 15, and Article 18 related to the development standards for smoking lounges in the RS, RC, and B3 zoning districts. We believe that the proposed amendment will promote orderly development and will still meet the necessity for any community interest and impact that might be produced by the use.
Okay. Commissioners, is there a motion?
I make a motion, Madam Chair, for PZTA 23-0005, that we approve the amended.
Is there a second?
Support.
It's been moved by Commissioner Bernuti and second by Commissioner Willis that we accept the favorable recommendation for PZTA 23-0005. All in favor? Aye. The motion carries. Moving right along, we have minutes from September the 6th, 2023 and September 27th, 2023. The department?
Yes, Madam President, we do have provided the minutes in advance. I made some corrections that Mr. Martin pointed out, and I think we're in good shape now, if the commission is ready to act on them.
All right. Is there a motion?
Just a question, the recommendations of Mr. Martin, are they in this copy or are they?
Yeah, yes, the physical copy you have is the revised version, and I emailed you the revised version as well.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioners, is there a motion?
Motion to approve the September 6th study meeting minutes and the September 27th regular meeting minutes as provided.
Is there a second?
I second it.
I'm sorry, Commissioner Bernuti. It's been moved by Commissioner Martin and second by Commissioner Bernuti that we accept the minutes from September 6, 2023, the study meeting, and September 27, 2023, the regular meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Public comment. At this time, we're going to open the floor for public comment. If there's any public who is interested in sharing your thoughts or concerns, please address the podium, approach the podium. Again, public comment. Public comment. Given no public has approached the podium, we're going to close the public comment section of our meeting. Next, we have city council items.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The three items that were before the Planning Commission last month that were in front of council this month were the Cornerstone Plaza conditional rezoning from B2 to P3 that was approved. The special land use for McAllister Machinery at 21700 Telegraph was also approved. And the zoning text amendment for public facilities in the RC district, which is the partner to the site plan you saw this evening on Clare Lane, was also approved. And there were no changes to that. It was approved as it was recommended.
All right. Anything else that we need to know?
But not this time.
Commissioner Martin?
I believe the city council took some action on the dog park.
Yep, the dog park, they approved, Administrator Zorn brought forth an action item, and they approved some budget to take the design to like the full design stage for like a phase one, which would be the dog runs and the parking lot. And then there would be perhaps a later phase two when they improve the walking path through there and maybe some additional lighting. But the phase one, which they're going into full design with the OHM, is the large dog and small dog park runs and improved parking lot.
Do they
Commissioner
have
Willis?
diagrams for those? Are there diagrams for
There's
those?
a conceptual one I saw at the meeting. I could forward it to you. It's not the final design, but it's what they showed council.
Would you please?
Yeah.
Commissioner Willis?
Some time ago, we had culverts as a major item on Southfield Road between 12 and 13. And I'm just wondering what the progress is of culverts.
Through the chair, they recently went through to the Arts Commission to get their art piece approved, but as far as when they're going to start, putting shovels in the ground. I believe springtime was the last that we had heard, but they were doing some final things on their end, and then they were gonna start in spring now.
Okay.
Wait, this is
Thank you.
Culver's?
Commissioner Martin?
I'm sorry.
Thank you. Commissioner Willis, are you done?
I'm done, thank you.
Commissioner Gruber?
I have a question about this dog park. I'm assuming we're talking about Lasser Woods.
Yes, that's right.
Okay, so that sidewalk that goes through the property is in terrible condition. And we have synagogue members, we don't use cars on the Sabbath, who have fallen and hurt themselves. So who do I contact, or who do they contact to get that path replaced, as long as they're putting in this dog park anyway?
Yeah, it is in the park facility, so it's technically Parks and Rec, but I know Terry Crode is part of the pathway improvements that planning works on, is looking at potentially using some of his pathway money, especially if some of these grants come in for other paths we're doing. We'll have some available funds, and he was looking at, if those funds are available, redoing that pathway, maybe along with the dog park, if we can. We're looking for the money right now. But it is a parks facility maintained by the Parks Department.
That is maintained by, okay, because
Yep.
I know that people from the synagogue have been in touch with them,
Yeah.
but now that they're going to be building, it just sort of makes sense
Yeah.
to do it all.
And as part of-
It's already there, it just needs to be redone.
Yeah, and as part of Mr. Crode's approval, he volunteered the planning department to facilitate like a open house community meeting with all the surrounding stakeholders, which I assume will include the synagogue. It was kind of a surprise to me, because he may have mentioned it to Terry Crode, but I had no idea he was volunteering us for that. I'm like, okay, I'm good with that, as long as Parks and Rec also shows up, since it's their facility.
And can I just ask another question that's procedural? When the school district makes changes to a building, does that come through us?
No, the public schools are exempt from local zoning and planning. It goes through the state. Even their permitting is done through the state. We don't do the inspections on the building. We don't issue permits on them. It's all done by the state building
And
department.
if they want to add their driveway to that Lasser Woods, do they have to talk to anybody about that? Or since they're a private entity in a sense, can they just do that?
Yeah, that's a little questionable. They can probably go to their property line without necessarily seeking our approval, but we do own that land, and it's designated as a park. So to have it function as an emergency egress, they would definitely have to work with us on that. It is one of the discussions that's being had. I think at this point, what I'd heard the discussion from the administration was they were willing to entertain it as a gated area that could be used as an emergency secondary access, but not as any kind of regular secondary access.
Because again, the synagogue does butt up against Lasser Woods, and are they going to just wake up one day and find this driveway there?
Yeah, I think
there
that.
are security issues.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we live in a world where there are security issues, so who do people in the synagogue talk to about that? Is anyone going to tell them that's coming?
Well, right
besides
now,
me?
what I've gotten feedbacks from Terry Fields, the parks director, and from the city administrator, is they are not interested in seeing any kind of regular secondary access for the school through that property. They might, if the school is willing to bear part of the cost of fixing the pathway, allow them an emergency egress with a gate.
Okay.
That is only open when there's an emergency. Say something's going on and they can't get out on the main road, they got to get the kids and people out of there.
I see.
It would give a secondary.
Oh, so it's not going to be like they're making the driveway.
Well, I think they would
pathway.
like to do that, but we've pretty much told them no.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, I appreciate that.
Commissioner Martin?
Yeah.
Okay, let's move in right along. We have miscellaneous items of Planning Commission study meeting for November 1st, 2023. Consider cancellation for Planning Commission study meeting for November 8th, 2023. Consider cancellation, and Planning Commission regular meeting for November 15th, 2023. Cancellation.
Madam Chair, we don't have any actual projects coming forward this month. We were originally, when I sent you this agenda, I was considering, and the commission could decide to cancel all these meetings, but after talking to Terry, once he kind of got back into contact with me, there was a discussion about us at least keeping the November 15th meeting for two reasons. One, we could approve the minutes from October. Two, we'd like to bring forward, just for discussion, not for action, and not even a drafted amendment, but like a framework discussion about what an alteration to the zoning ordinance to delegate site plan approval to the planning commission would
Okay.
look like, what form that would take, what the triggers would be. I'm starting to research on that. I got to get something together and to you in about 2 weeks. If we do it on the 15th, that should give me enough time to finish my research and bring forward some proposed frameworks. And if the commission settles on a version that they like, then we can talk to council about it at a study meeting, because I don't want to bring forward a draft ordinance until I've, lined up my ducks on this, because it is a fairly substantial policy change to do this. So
Well,
if
can we make the meeting on the 15th a study meeting as opposed to a regular meeting?
yeah, we would just have to, can you vote at minutes at a study meeting? I think you don't vote on that, you can do it,
Yeah,
yeah,
we
we can make it a
can.
study meeting, and then just, the only approval would be the minutes of October. Everything else would be just for discussion. And like I said, I'm preparing like a survey of other communities in terms of what they do and best practices and some options as to how we could reorganize and reform the code to make it a little easier to use and maybe a little more streamlined on the site plan review.
Okay, commissioners, is there a motion to cancel the study meeting planned for November 1st, 2023? Cancel the study meeting planned for November 8th, 2023. Modify the meeting scheduled for November 15th, 2023 from a regular meeting to a study meeting. Is there a motion?
I'm sorry, before the motion is taken, I'm just curious why the 15th could not just be a regular meeting. We identify it as such. We'll need a quorum. We'll still have to vote on it, and it will meet our requirement for regular meeting.
Yeah, it could stay a regular meeting because you are going to vote on the minutes. It doesn't have to be transferred to a study meeting. The fact that we're not actually having any public hearings at that meeting means I just have to post it at the clerk's office. I don't have to actually publish anything or mail anything out. It'll just be a posted notice of what the agenda is at the clerk's office. I only have to actually mail notices directly or publish them if there's an actual public hearing or a site plan review approval. So whether it's a study meeting or regular meeting, the notice is the same. I have to post the agenda of that meeting.
Let me explain why I made the suggestion. With a regular meeting, the regular meeting is broadcast. And what I'm hearing the department say is that they want to bring forward something for us to discuss. So as opposed to it being a public discussion, a study meeting is not broadcast. So we can have conversations about it without it being public. Until when we have a regular meeting, it's public. And we've already hashed out some things before it goes public. So that's the reason why I made the suggestion.
Okay,
That's actually pretty good reason.
great point.
Okay? So back to, is there a motion to, Commissioner Martin?
November 8th is already a study meeting.
No,
Yeah.
I'm talking about canceling November 8th and turning November 15th from a regular meeting to a study meeting.
And that's the request of the department because we need a little more time to prep for that
Right.
meeting. I just got authorization to kind of do this from Terry last week, and I've been busy doing his job and my job, so I
Yeah.
just started getting to it now.
You follow me?
If we change November 15th to a study meeting, is what you're saying? We can't approve the minutes from October. We do that at regular meetings only.
But we could approve those minutes in December. It's not an emergency either way.
Right, so we can approve the minutes in December.
Yeah, yep.
Yeah?
It's happened before.
So
But
this,
if you cancel that meeting, that's what you would have done anyway.
Yeah, if we'd have canceled them all, that's what you would have done anyway.
Okay, commissioners, is there a motion?
Oh, I'm sorry. Are
Yes.
we through with that?
Are you gonna make a motion?
Yes.
Okay.
I was going to make a motion that we cancel November 1st, November 8th, and our planning meeting for November 15th will not be a regular meeting, it'll be a study meeting.
Is there any further discussion?
I support.
All in favor? Oh, wait a minute, that's Commissioner, I need a support. Commissioner Griffith support. It's been moved by Commissioner Bernuti, second by Commissioner Willis, that we cancel the study. Commissioner Griffith. Lord Jesus. Okay, Commissioner Bernuti, second by Commissioner Griffith, that we cancel our study meeting for November the 1st, our study meeting for November the 8th, and that we change the regular meeting scheduled for November 15th to a study meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Is there anything for the good of the order?
Just a question.
One second, Commissioner Bernoulli.
Mine is not a comment. I would just like for Director Crow to know that we miss him and we'll be happy when he comes back.
Thank you.
No disrespect.
Commissioner Willis?
Does this portend what we may be doing in December, or are we looking at a regular schedule for December?
Probably regular schedule in December. I think we have a couple of projects, 3 projects in that are going through the staff review process that will probably be ready for you in December. So we'll be back on and once we have this conversation in November, if we settle on kind of a plan of approach, then Terry and I, as Terry gets more re-engaged, will then engage city council in a study meeting to try to have another similar kind of dialogue and maybe a little bit of back and forth, because to change this, the way site plan review done is kind of spelled out the way we do it now in every district article in the ordinance. We'd have to amend like 17 different articles of the ordinance to change this. So it's kind of a big deal, I guess is what I'm saying.
Commissioner Martin, did you have anything for the good of the order?
Yeah, I do. Going back to Mr. Willis's question about culverts. The last word we had was that the council didn't vote on culverts, or hadn't passed, isn't it?
They did finally approve it. It went on for a while. That was before I started, but I think they had just approved it like a month before I started.
Yeah, because the last we had heard, they didn't approve it.
It went on for a while, is what I was told. Terry was a little scarred by it.
So it is going on Southfield
Yep.
and Webster.
Yeah,
Okay.
it did finally get approved.
Windflower.
But it took a while.
Windflower.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the other side of the street, yeah. I don't like to mention them people because they had a problem with that wasn't from us.
Commissioners, is there anything else for the good of the order? Given none, I adjourn the meeting at 8.
You keep cutting me off.
What you want?
I want to know about the car wash on Southfield Road also. At the 33,000 where they were tearing, next to Target, south of Target.
I mean, they're converting that they're tearing that building.
They put a
There's a
sign
sign
up.
up front coming soon.
Yeah,
The building was still there.
I believe it did get approved. I just don't know when the construction schedule is.
Okay, I'll leave it alone, thank you. Do you have a construction schedule for culverts or?
Yeah, at this point, because they haven't poured foundations yet, I'm thinking spring too, because we're getting late to be digging and pouring foundations.
Yeah.
Not impossible at this point because our weather's changing, but still.
And Bacos.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, I'm done.
Are you sure? Okay. I'm closing the meeting.